I admire writers so much more now than I ever could have understood before. Because to tell your story with its intimate and vulnerable details and put it out there for anyone to pick up and read, and you know how human beings like to judge. Uh, it's a bit of a terrifying experience. So, but at the end of it all, it's also very liberating. The law of attraction, and it is a law. I've heard people say, "Oh, I believe to an extent in the law of attraction." That's kind of like saying, "I believe to an extent in the law of gravity." It's just a truth that everything is energy. So if we begin by understanding everything is energy, everything you can see, every thought, every word you speak, everything is made of energy, and energy vibrates at different frequencies. And the law of attraction is quite simply whatever frequency you are vibrating at in your words, your thoughts, your physical being, that's the frequency from the external world that you're going to attract to you.
The Reclaiming Wisdom as Faith Matures series is a broadcast of the Oliver and Grucci Learning Center, dedicated to healing the wounds of intergenerational trauma by reclaiming our cultural roots, rituals, and identities lost through colonial suppression.
St. Andrew's College is an affirming ministry of the United Church of Canada. We acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis. This verbal acknowledgement is one concrete action that symbolizes our commitment to the work of reconciliation.
Well, hello, viewers. Welcome to the very first episode of the Reclaiming Wisdom and Faith Matures series. So through these first episodes, we're just going to take the opportunity to introduce ourselves to you as hosts of this video series here. I am Bernon Lee.
And I am Sita Rebizand.
And together we're going to be your hosts for this series. In this very first episode, we're going to meet Sita and get to know Sita a little bit better. And perhaps the way to get going, Sita, if this is agreeable to you, is to talk about your book, which came out in 2021.
2021, yeah.
And the title of the book is Safe, Loved, and Free. How hitting rock bottom inspired my awakening and led me to the life and love I always longed for. Wonderful title, Sita.
Thank you.
What's the book about, and what prompted you to write it?
So it's sort of a two-part answer in terms of what it's about. First, it's about the law of attraction, which once was a course I taught. I was teaching meditation a couple decades ago, and from teaching meditation, I ended up developing various different workshops, for example, on the chakras or on parenting or health, the different things that meditation fit together with and could help people improve their lives with. But my law of attraction class was the by far most popular one. And as I write in the book, every time I finished the course, it was 8 weeks long originally. I expanded it. It ended up being 12 weeks long, meeting once a week with a group and explaining to them how the law of attraction works. And at the end of the 12 weeks, I would ask people, raise your hand if you feel that your life has changed for the better in these 12 weeks from taking this class. And every single hand went up. And that's not feeding my ego at all. That's about the fact that learning this secret, learning this idea of how life really works energetically is so incredibly empowering. And that was why all the hands shot up in the air. So that became so popular that one day in meditation, I received what I call guidance. That's how I live and talk. So I received guidance to put the course into book form so that it would reach more people. And yeah, we'll talk about that journey, but that's the book. And the second part of the book is illustrating how it worked in my life to help me get out of a marriage to a narcissist, go through the whole craziness of the divorce when you're divorcing a narcissist, which I didn't even know at the time. I didn't know he was a narcissist until much later. But how I managed to use these principles to break free from my own patterns that had attracted me to him in the first place and were keeping me stuck.
Sita, there's so many dangling threads in what you've just shared, and I don't know which one to pull on first. But maybe a way to get you going around the circle and maybe to eventually touch on all of these things that I find so interesting is for you to talk about, what challenges were involved in creating this work. There seems to be a lots of uh, 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 trauma, lots of injury that you are coming out of, and that's parts of what
Mm.
gives you the energy to do what you did. Could you say a little bit more about what challenges were involved in just getting this thing onto paper, getting your feelings out there?
Yeah, it was really interesting because teaching the class, when I'm just standing in a room and here's the people, I know who's there. Obviously, it's a different feeling than writing a book, or even I had the experience with writing blogs where you don't know who might read this. So, one of the challenges for sure was speaking my truth finally. And anyone who has ever been involved with a narcissist knows that telling your side of the story is a very scary thing, because narcissists will attack, invalidate, punish you for telling your side of the story. Now, was that something conscious? No, but it was something that when I sat down to write, I would find anxiety coming up, and I didn't know why. So the divorcing the narcissist was one of the healing my trauma kind of experiences, and then writing the book ended up being another layer of healing the trauma. And I will say that it's, well, I'll leave it there for now. Okay.
Did it take a long time to uncover the trauma? Was it a
To
gradual
uncover the
realizing?
trauma. So the writing process, I'll say, I wrote in spurts because that was how I was able to do it without overwhelming my nervous system. And again, I wasn't aware of all that. I was just kind of going by intuition at the time. I thought, okay, I got this chapter done, take a break. And then by the end of 2014, so I basically wrote the bulk of the book in 2014. It took me about a year to get the bulk of the book done. And it was surprising to me that, a little spurt here, a little spurt there. And then I looked and realized, oh, I think it's done. And, but then from 2014 to 2021, there was not constant, lots of long breaks where I couldn't look at it at all. Any writer listening to this will understand that. But then going back and going through it, you find you're never done, right? You're never done writing.
Yeah.
You can always improve this and edit that. And so that became a bit of an exhausting process. And also because of the narcissistic abuse in my history, often feelings of it's just never good enough lend to that never ending editing kind of thing. So finally in 2021, I actually had to write out in marker for myself, my book is perfect as it is, and stick it up on the wall and just get that message through my head that it's fine. It's not perfect. It's the first book, but it's good enough. It's out there and it's working for people. It got the message out there. And So yeah, it was full of challenges, but I got there.
Yeah, thanks for that, Sita. Your narrative reminds me of a quip that I'd read, something that was written by one of my favorite writers, a chap by the name of Edward Said, writing about imperialism. And in this quip, he talked about how, those first two books were written in rage. It was just the energy of his rage that carried the creative process. And I
Mm,
think I'm hearing bits and pieces of that in what you're sharing with us. The pain of it, the memory of it is what got you to
mm.
2021 and the publication of this volume. I'm I'm curious, what did it feel like when you finally saw it in print, when it was done?
Not the elation you would think. Um, it was a relief, kind of a relief that I did it. It was looming over me for so many years that I felt like I'm supposed to do this. I have to get this done. I don't want to die without getting this done, as Wayne Dyer would say, or has said, don't die with your music still in you. And I just felt like, no, this is what I have to get out there. And um, so certainly there was a sense of relief that, whew, I did it. But, well, okay, I'll say this openly. When certain family members of mine uh, said, "Oh, I ordered your book," I went into panic because I thought, okay, I didn't write this for them. There are certain parts in it where I write about them, and I try to be as gracious about all of my history in in my family as possible, but also while speaking my truth. So yeah, that level of exposure, I mean, to them, but also just to every stranger who might order my book off of Amazon or Indigo or wherever. Um, yeah, I think exposure it's probably a really common fear, but strangely enough, I don't hear people talking about it much. But to tell your story, I admire writers so much more now than I ever could have understood before. Because to tell your story with its intimate and vulnerable details and put it out there for anyone to pick up and read, and you know how human beings like to judge, uh, it's a bit of a terrifying experience. So, but at the end of it all, it's also very liberating because when a little bit more time had passed and many of my former clients had bought the book and read it, the feedback I started getting was amazing, was beautiful, was wonderful. And a big piece of it was the validation. So, like I said, narcissists will invalidate you for speaking your truth. Um, to the point that we, the abused by narcissists, we doubt our own truth sometimes, and I certainly grew up doubting my own truth. I'm very good at doubting myself. So to have people write back and say how much my book is helping them, and um, just compliments about having achieved this and all that, it was something that my nervous system wasn't used to. I was used to having people try to break it down and break me down and judge. And so um yeah, I mean, it's just a healing journey all the way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's very understandable, Sita. I mean, so much of what you do, and I'm drawing upon conversations we've had outside of the context of this program. I just know that you put so much of yourself into your writing, into the work that you do. Yes, I think it's reasonable to expect that there would be a good degree of nervousness when you're putting something out there for the general public to read and to criticize, perhaps.
Well, I want to just throw in there, Burnham, before we get to the next theme, is that part of my sharing all of this right now with you, and as well as in the book, I'm hoping to inspire other people who might be sitting at home feeling like I really want to tell my story, but nobody will believe me, or I don't know how, or every time I try, I feel anxious, and letting that hold them back. And so I just want to encourage people that, yeah, I felt all those things. So, pace yourself, don't overwhelm yourself, but keep moving forward in baby steps, because the world needs to hear from those of us who were silenced. We really need to reclaim our voices in the bigger picture too, right? You mentioned colonialism, and of course we're going to be talking more about that in future episodes. This is a very individual journey, but also a collective journey. Those of us who were oppressed, we need to reclaim our voices. To reclaim our wisdom, as the title says, right? So I'm hoping that by sharing as authentically as I can, that I will be encouraging others to do the same.
Mhm. Well, thanks very much. And I can certainly bear witness to the fact that you've encouraged me in the various conversations that we've had. And in fact, this broadcast, this series comes out of that sharing and this growing sense that this was something that was so important for both of us to talk about, and that it needed to be shared. And that's what's driving us to create this series. And we'll eventually come round, I think, towards the end, at the end of the very second episode, when we talk about what the series is all about, and how your work and your life is going to connect with the theme of the series. But I want to tease out a part of your book. I want to press you a little bit to talk about one of the pieces in there that
Mhm.
really draws my attention. So the subtitle to your book is, as you describe it, as an awakening that was prompted by your understanding of this thing called the law of attraction, and meditation was a part of it. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the law of attraction is, and the second part of it is how does awakening connect with that?
Hmm. So they're absolutely connected, because the law of attraction, and it is a law. I've heard people say, oh, I believe to an extent in the law of attraction. That's kind of like saying, I believe to an extent in the law of gravity. It's just a truth that everything is energy. So if we begin by understanding everything is energy, everything you can see, every thought, every word you speak, everything is made of energy, and energy vibrates at different frequencies. And the law of attraction is quite simply whatever frequency you are vibrating at in your words, your thoughts, your physical being, that's the frequency from the external world that you're going to attract to you. So that's on the in the energetic language. Now, in my book, I explain, for example, that the law of attraction isn't just about saying, let's say I'm rich. That's what a lot of people seem to like to focus on. So just saying, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy. And then you create that reality and call in wealth. It's not about that. And that was the reason for writing my book, was to explain to people, I have the firm belief, also based on experience, and this is where my spirituality blends well with religious ideas. I have the firm belief that there is a being, an intelligence, a god, whatever you want to call it, spirit guides, that wants to give me everything good, everything to make me happy, all the milk and honey, all of that. I have a firm belief that that is what is available to me. I don't have to earn it. I don't have to do anything to get there. I don't have to follow rules. All I have to do is be open to receiving. What blocks us from being open to receiving? Our fears, our guilt, our negative beliefs that we picked up, usually in childhood, but also just from the collective, from the culture. All these different, impatience. That's my book goes through actually the different things that that block people. So again, I can't get this in the right spot, but there's guilt, there's fear, there's impatience, there's expectations and self-sabotage, there's anger. Then all of these things are blocking us. And so they're keeping us vibrating at a lower level. And then we go through life thinking, oh, why doesn't anything ever work out for me? Every time I have a good business idea, it goes wrong or something like that. Well, that's all vibration. And we're just going to keep creating the same thing unless we learn. And this is where we come to awakening for me, because for me, awakening is really understanding nothing that's happening out there in my life didn't happen in here first.
I see.
Right? So when something's happening in my life that I don't like, I no longer try to change it or fix it in the external. I sit down in meditation or use any number of my other tools. I mentioned some like EFT tapping in the book. Journaling is very powerful. There are other writing exercises that can be really helpful for uncovering and clearing these sabotaging beliefs. And a simple one is affirmations. Affirmations. So it's noticing that I've been saying for years that nothing ever works out for me is step one. And then step two is changing that to an affirmation and just saying everything's always working out for me.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of people think that's just too simple to be true. My life in the last 30 years shows that it works. My clientele, all the people, I taught hundreds of people about this, and they're all living it. I mean, they've gone on, some of them to teach it, to teach yoga, meditation, to live the lives they felt drawn to live, prompted to live because of understanding this. So they're awakening now too. So yeah, does that make sense, or did I leave anything out?
Yeah, it does. The concept of awakening, and you've brought in the piece about meditation, and um, how does the piece in the Course in Miracles? What is the Course in Miracles once again, and how does it connect with meditation? How does it connect with what you're describing here in terms of an awakening to the law of attraction?
So the Course in Miracles, I didn't even read it until maybe it was around 2015. So I'd already written the bulk of my book before I read it. But when I did finally pick it up, I realized it's also, one could say, it's also the law of attraction principles. But if I were to say sort of the law of attraction, if my book was sort of like a high school textbook, the Course in Miracles is not even university. It would be doing your master's, really. It goes much deeper, to the extent that there's a part in it that just says everything that seems to happen to you, you have asked for and are receiving as you asked. That's a hard truth to swallow for people who are really struggling. But the empowering thing, this is what I try to tell people, because a lot of people sort of stop at, oh, you're blaming me? You're saying I'm creating this? And I do explain this in the book, but I'll repeat it here because it's a really important stumbling block for people. And I think it's based on denial at the end of the day, on a fear of taking responsibility, because it's not about blame.
Uh-huh.
It's about empowerment. You can't be blamed for messages you're holding in your unconscious mind that you picked up when you were 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 years old. You can't, that's not blame. If you saw your father struggling financially and your family went through a period of poverty, for example, And so now you have a belief that's sabotaging you, and that belief is that, money is scarce, and it's causing you to struggle in your life. Well, recognizing that you have that belief is not the same, is not blaming you.
Uh-huh.
It's shining light on what's holding you back. And then you can change it to an affirmation that the universe is abundant. There is always enough, right?
Yeah, that's strikingly different from how the term miracle is understood in popular culture. We usually think about a rupture in the natural order, but what you're describing here seems to be something that is innate to our own understanding of others and of ourselves, and
Yeah.
how yeah.
Sorry, let me come back to the Course in Miracles. But you just reminded me what I was supposed to be talking about. But it is all interconnected. But so in the Course in Miracles, it begins by saying miracles are natural. Miracles, they are happening every day. They're supposed to be happening every day. It's not this big rupture in the natural order of things, as you said. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. We're going to have to cut this part out.
Happens to the best of us. Do it at least 3 times a day.
Yeah, but yeah, the empowering part is what I really like to emphasize. And because just imagine one of those negative beliefs that's holding you back, it's almost like a cancer. And what do? You get in there and you cut it out. You take it out. And then you can move on with your positive beliefs, with your positive expectations, and you will see the results. It doesn't take very long. It doesn't take very long to start seeing the results. Even meditation, you don't have to be meditating for years in order to see the results of more inner peace and more acceptance and more compassion and all of those things. You get to see those within days of starting to meditate. So that was my huge passion for many years, just teach people to meditate. So all of it is meant to be empowering. And there's so much more I could say about A Course in Miracles, but we'll get there. We'll bring
Leave
that
it for
back
another time.
I find I'm constantly pulling from it in different conversations because there's so much wisdom in there.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I like the analogy of a cancer. It's slow growing from the inside, but it's insidious. Well, sometimes it's fast growing as well and overwhelms you very quickly. Course of
Yeah.
Miracles, Law of Attraction, meditation, wonderful stuff, Sita. But we're getting to the end of our time here, and
Good.
but this is a good spot to stop. When we come back in our second episode, we'll hear more about how Course in Miracles, the Law of Attraction, and how meditation is taken into Sita's professional practice, which is that of a transformational life coach. But that is going to be another conversation and another story for another time. Episode 2. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much, Bernon.
This has been a broadcast of the Oliver and Grucci Learning Center at St. Andrews College, Saskatoon. If you'd like to learn more about our programs, please visit us at the web address listed at the bottom of the screen.